What a stupid comment. Really, person out there, I don't know who you are, but you're really showing your ignorance. You want to know what constitutes a narcissist? Look it up in the dictionary. And actually, there was another person who's part of this community who made the same suggestion. So thank you for that, and I'm just going to put it on blast. Somebody who's abusive and toxic, they don't have to be a narcissist, although those behaviors are definitely narcissistic, to be enough to go, I don't want to be involved in that or be in a relationship with someone who doesn't treat me with basic respect, kindness. And being in a relationship that doesn't provide safety doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to be in relationships with people who aren't safe people. That's just stupid. How do I really feel? Well, let's get to the therapy part of it. Clearly, okay, I'm going to dial it back because I don't want to speak to you in a way that doesn't represent me well. As a therapist for narcissistic abuse survivors, not survivors of only people with NPD, narcissistic. That means that they probably don't even have a diagnosis, but that they are behaving in ways that are toxic and abusive to the people who come to me as their victims and survivors. So much of the time, the people, the survivors, the victims who come to me not even recognizing how abused they were in childhood or how dysfunctional their family system was or the people in it or any of those things. A lot of times when somebody comes to me, they're coming to me to deal with something that's going on in their life currently. And usually it has to do with those relationships that are continuing to cause them harm, as well as some things that they're going through in real time that they're struggling to get through, like being triggered quite a lot and not being able to manage those triggers, living with a high anxiety because their nervous system is on fire because they are survivors of narcissistic abuse, which trains you to be in a state of constant vigilance. They're coming to me because maybe they're having a hard time functioning in other relationships that they're trying to make sense out of. Is it them? Is it the relationship? Is it both? And when that process begins, they're not going, well, my mom did this and my dad did that and da. It doesn't work that way. Information unfolds. And a lot of the information that unfolds in those moments are things that my client, the survivor, the victim, will have had normalized for them, and they don't even know that those things aren't normal. So for example, and I will leave you with this, and I'm not even trying to give you anything that I think is going to land anywhere, but I'm hoping for somebody else it might click for them how much the way that we were grown up, we weren't raised, is normalized to the point where it takes decades sometimes to figure out, oh my gosh, that's why I'm triggered by that, because we didn't realize that something created a wound that could be triggered. And just before I go into this little blip of a story, just before I go there, to be very, very, very clear, my clients come to me at all different stages of relationships within their families. Some of them are full on contact and full relationships, being set on fire every day, by the way. Some of them come to me in full on relationships that, maybe a match is being lit here and there, but they're not on fire anymore because they're able to manage it. Some of them come to me in a low contact situation. Some come to me already fully estranged. All different places. And wherever they are, if that's where they choose to be and want to be, that's where they're going to be. I will never tell somebody to go no contact. I don't even suggest it. I do suggest that people evaluate their relationships, how they feel in those relationships, and why they're in those relationships. And through that, sometimes people will go, yeah, I don't know why I'm doing this. It doesn't have value for me. And sometimes they'll say, well, it has a value because it keeps me connected to other people that matter to me. and they'll stay in those relationships. But whatever it is, that's up to them. It's not my job to influence somebody or tell them what to do. It's my job to help them develop confidence in their own thoughts and feelings so that they can guide themselves and not need me anymore. Here's the story though, about abuse that was normalized for me that I didn't realize even in therapy. And there were other things when I went through therapy 30 years ago that when I told the therapist, she was like, no, that's not normal. This is what that caused you. And she would explain it to me and give me a clue to the fact that other people in other houses don't do this to their children. Like, for example, being told by your own mother you're damaged goods and a tramp. Not normal. How did I know that? I didn't know that because I believed that I was those things because my mother said so when I was a little girl. The other thing that I didn't notice, and I unpacked myself very recently because of the fact that I speak so much about my experiences, I am processing my experiences here on TikTok and out loud and YouTube and everywhere else. My grandmother was the facilitator of and complicit and an active contributor of the CSA that was perpetrated by my grandfather. And if you want to have more of a clue of what that looked like and how that was normalized for me, go to the tab, Who the F Was My Grandmother? And you can get the whole backstory. I am 58 years old, and I was like almost today years old when I figured out my grandmother too, that she did that to me too. We can't, we can't lie about things that we don't know we should be lying about. Your statement really doesn't make sense. And by the way, if you're ignorant enough to go to a therapist and lie about the things that you've been through, well, then go ahead and piss your money away. Most people, actually, I'll go all people outside of the narcissistic ones who weaponize therapy and go for different reasons, go to therapy because they're in some sort of crisis or they're struggling and they genuinely want help. And in order to get that, they tell the truth because they want to be helped. And I will always stand by, with, in front of, behind, beside, wherever my clients need me to stand. I will always be with them and I will always believe them because they are coming to me needing that belief and support and help, and they deserve it just like I did.